Women of Power podcast is a platform for passionate and influential women who are catalysts for change, pioneers in their fields, the change makers, the trailblazers, performers and influencers, driven entrepreneurs and professionals. They play a vital role in driving economic growth and bridging the talent shortages across organizations of various scales. Building cause-based businesses to create positive impact in their communities and towards sustainable goals for the people, planet, and prosperity. In every industry, women are shattering barriers and strive to create a space where they can exhibit their achievements and motivate other women to unleash their limitless potential. We encourage collaboration, networking, and knowledge sharing among women. Let's inspire and learn from one another while sharing our valuable experiences. Thank you for joining us and listening to this episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Women of Power. The Women of Power podcast is a platform for passionate and influential women who are catalysts of change, pioneers in their field, the change makers, the trailblazers, the performers, the influencers, driven entrepreneurs, and professionals. They play a vital role in driving economic growth and bridging talent shortages across many organizations of various scales, building cause-based businesses to create positive change in their communities and towards sustainable goals for people, planet, and profits. Women of Power is a dynamic platform that organizes the incredible potential as women as a driving force behind global economic growth. It is a platform that celebrates and empowers women of passion and power. Every time I speak to another women leader or one of my guests, and there is so much that goes behind the story that we tell the story. And that's the tidbits that come behind the story that shows the strength, shows the commitment, the endurance, the resilience that we bring in. And this is just not for women. We talk about women in this podcast, but as goes for human race, we as resilient species, somewhere our journey intersects with our strengths. And I always like to bring, as women, we currently in this 21st century are almost 50% of the workforce, having $30 plus trillion buying power. We still have a lot to cover. We still have to prove ourselves. Today, my guest has an amazing story of her own. I would not steal her thunder because I want to hear from in her own words. I welcome my guest today, Sandra Combe. She is a powerful voice of resilience and authentic leadership, inspiring individuals for her unique story of a corporate world. She's the visionary founder of Stop the Bypass, and we'll let Sandra talk about it. A movement born from her near-death experiences and subject of her forthcoming teaching memoir. A profound exploration of healing, truth, and courage to fully live. So important. After navigating high-pressure, toxic environment that contributed to the heart attack and triple bypass, Sandra transformed her life. She became a healing art entrepreneur and founded Kindred Spirit Connections, LLC. I welcome you, Sandra. The floor is yours. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm so excited to be part of your podcast. I was actually a speaker in one of your past summits, and I will start by just saying I live in Southern California. I have been a healing arts entrepreneur for over 20 years, and I ran a very interesting parallel path as I worked in the corporate leadership world for over 30 years.
Yes.
And that environment,
Hmm.
then climbing the corporate ladder, I had a heart attack and a triple bypass surgery at the age of 49, and it really turned my life around.
Yes, we had conversations, and of course, you had shared your story on the summit. Um, at the age of 49, really, it's something that doesn't happen to all,
No,
right? And you took that experience and turned it into something amazing for others and for yourself.
right. Well, I had always understood, about transformation, but when I opened that healing arts retreat, it was to heal myself. And what I realized is I had been giving so much of myself in the corporate world. I forgot that I had a body, that I had health, because I kept climbing for promotions, and I went back to get my MBA to compete in this oil and gas industry. So I worked for the number one company in the world. And
Mhm.
to continue to compete and promote, I went back, I got my MBA at 48. And then I had my heart attack at 49. And then I had a bypass at 50. So that whole timeline, God gave me a timeout. We have wake up calls throughout our whole life.
We do. It was a reset.
Yes, it was a reset. It was a recalibration. I took a year off, and during that year, I decided to really work on healing myself. And I have like all the modalities. I'm certified. I had my own healing arts. As an entrepreneur, a mother daughter wellness center. And I went back to work. I went back to work, Ritu, for 10 more years. But it had really significantly already changed who I was. I learned to stand in my own empowerment and reclaim my voice.
I had come across as I work in tech side of the businesses, and being in C-suites and handling complex technical issues to whatnot. I cannot discount the importance of self-care and healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We, no matter who we are, what our profession is, right? The healing is so part of our being, especially in the chaotic, interesting world that we live in. It's the need to reset is more important. If we don't pay attention, body is going to tell you. Even on this topic, I can have conversation all day long. It's so interesting. I have so many books that I had come across and read how your body gives you signals, right?
Yeah.
And a heart attack is not a simple thing. It's not a bellyache. It's not influenza. It's not flu. It's not like my back aches or I'm not feeling too good. It's major, right?
Well, and you're right. At that point in my life, I didn't ever anticipate that something like that would happen to me.
Yes.
But God gave me that time out. And during that time out, I got a chance to reevaluate my life. And like I said, then I went back to work, but I went back to work a little bit smarter and more self-nourishing. And I realized is that I had done such a job of being perfect. I wore the masks, right? I could compete. I was successful. But yeah, I had to learn to find me again.
Yes.
And after the 10 years, well, I started a spiritual quest. Like, once again, I'm running corporate, I'm running an entrepreneur, healing arts business with my daughter. I've been married 47 years. I'm really feel like I'm the heart of the family. My family has always, been my heart. But during that time, then I went back and picked up all the shattered pieces of my heart from that heart attack. And it was just one step at a time. And exactly what you said was a reset. And I went back to all the ancient healing. I went back and started traveling the world. I went to Egypt and India, and I just gained all this knowledge beyond the books. Is I got a chance to live a spiritual path. And I studied death and dying, Ritu, for over 30 years. My sister committed suicide 30 years ago. And during that time, then I carried the torch, and it was the start of my spiritual quest. So you can imagine, I believe the biggest mystery on the planet is death. And death was a great teacher for me because it taught me the value of living.
Yes, yes, I appreciate you saying that, and I'm sorry for your loss. But then, we all have to go, right?
Right,
So it's the quality of life
right.
and quantity of life, right? We all long for to live forever, but our today is chaotic. What kind of future we are creating for ourselves and our loved ones or the planet, and so on and on. Really, I think you made such an important reference to the death,
Yep,
right? We don't want to talk about it, we don't want to think about it, but it's inevitable,
yep,
right? Realizing that for people who have, especially any untimely death in the family or the close circles, it changes us in different
yeah,
ways, right? It changes us. So the healing is not just the physical, it's emotional too. I would like you to talk about it a little bit, but I want to just let you guide here. Um, Tell us about Sandra. Anything
okay.
else you would like to share about your professional experiences, etc. And then we'll come back to amazing things we have to talk about.
Well, I think I was fortunate because I could see a lot of fun light coming in, playing here. You know, I got an opportunity to have my own business, to work in corporate, to survive in a male dominated world. And what I did and what I did for your summit is my signature talk originally was stop bypassing your happy life. Because when I retired and I had a near death experience, I realized that I had a chance to have a second chance to live. And I don't think many people think about that. But I went back and reviewed every turning point in my life,
Mm,
found the lesson learned, and then became the founder of this Stop the Bypass, which is a book that's going to be coming out in the next couple months.
yes,
But
please
my
share the cover. It's beautiful.
yeah. Uh, uh, and although the book is Stop the Bypass, it does have to do with a medical procedure that I had, but really it's stop bypassing our truth, stop bypassing our body, living a life that feels like ours. So I think that's what during the last 5 years. So I had this near death experience in the backyard of my daughter's pool. And they thought I was meditating underwater. There was this great rescue. My daughter gave me mouth to mouth. I was out for 7 to 9 minutes, and went to the hospital and was in a coma for 3 days. And during those 3 days, of course, I study the Bardo of becoming and get a chance to review my life. But then I come back to realize is that I have never really lived my life. I've lived for everybody else. So I started writing the book. I started looking at the young childhood unresolved trauma, the patterns of my life, the competition, working with the men, learning to communicate, collaborate, in the 80s when I started in corporate, it was a lot of competition. So I
Yes.
think we had to learn to grow together. But the
And
signature taught,
men
yeah,
also were not accustomed to, right? Having
right,
someone on the table in the boardrooms,
right.
right?
Definitely. And the signature talk that I did at your virtual summit was yeah, from one of the boys to all of us. Because basically, for me to survive in that man's world is I had to wear the masks. And what I found that I did was I kind of hid my femininity. I masked my emotions and my feelings. I had to wear this uniform in the office, the perfect dress. Um, and, basically, I felt initially that I got molded, because that job position was really defined and designed for men. So you're right. As much as they had to adjust to me, it was this mutual growth that we had together. And I just called it their survival too. They were learning about diversity. They were learning about allowing and accepting women in leadership at that time.
Yes, and I think I say that with a very respectful way that it's not a competition. It
Right?
just was the generational mindset. And when I talk about my book and women leadership in 21st century, it's not about women having high titles or so. It is the call of the hour to step up, collaborate, to come together, a holistic way of looking at leadership. Because exactly your story, having a heart attack at 49,
Yeah.
right? It is eye opener, and it's just not for women. It's for everybody. Right
Yeah.
now, our world had turned upside down. Business world has turned upside down. The personal world is had been for most of us the turmoils. So I think the lesson that come from our life experiences
Yeah.
so vital. When you were saying that you were in the pool and your family daughter thought that you were meditating, I couldn't stop thinking if they had just stepped away, left you saying mom's meditating and do not disturb her, but is the different reality that's taking place. I am using this as a kind of metaphor for our listeners that how mindful we need to be at every intersection in our life. Either we are parents, grandparents, colleagues, brothers, sisters, whoever we are. We talk about, and I say that from sincere uh, feelings here and sincere thoughts. We talk about the collaborative systems. How about collaborative word?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, well, it is. I mean, I think that's exactly we're growing together. We're
Yes.
learning together, and we can have that great knowledge from the book that we spoke about, but it's those lived experiences that really give you the wisdom of life.
Yes.
Um,
So when you went back, how you felt either you changed your perspective to look at corporate
yeah.
world, or you saw by that time, say, whenever the timings were maybe in 2000s at that time, was there really a change in the mindset of leadership?
Um, I'd have to say everything in my world changed. And, you're right. The most of it had to do with my perception, my inner knowing, my inner compass, the
Mhm.
values, because what it ended up doing was you and I both wrote a chapter in this catalyst of change.
Yes.
And what I had written in was this global commitment for health and well-being. So it began in myself. And when I came back, is I realized I worked environmental for this company. I had great planetary stewardship, but I didn't have my own well-being under control. And I wrote an article, Healing Ourselves to Heal the World. Because what I found, Ritu, was that our inner world kind of reflects this outer world.
Mm-hmm.
And to ensure that we all have healthy lives, I found this haunting parallel between my body and the planet. My own values, even though I was on the right side of compliance, helping the world, earth, the bloodline, the oil was still being extracted and exploited. And what I found was that's how my own arteries were inside of me. So I saw the reflection in me, and it awakened me.
So that's the analogy that you use, it's very important for self-reflection. And by the way, wherever you are, the light is reflecting
Yeah.
right on your face. So
You
I
want me
think
to
this is
let me close this real quick?
sure.
Yes, it's a perfectly sunny day in California
That's
here.
that's
Thank
pretty
you.
good that we are having snowstorm here, but that's okay. But I just wanted to make sure that the light was shining upon you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you worked in oil industry, and that's pretty uncommon for
Yeah.
most female leaders, right? I'm sure there would be a lot of women working in the industry, but um, fast forward to 25, 26. So we just began 26. Now we are not only generationally, the leadership, now the millennials are there, the technical advancements, so much has changed. I'm curious professionally, how do you see women taking role into areas where they were kind of very focused for men? Do you see that
Well,
changing?
I definitely see it changing. I have one daughter, but I have three grandchildren. And I have three grandchildren that grew up because I taught them mindfulness and meditation and contemplation and awareness and respecting everybody else's model of the world, NLP. The tools that I had, I shared with them. And I'd like to say that my granddaughter just turned 21 and she is empowered.
Wow.
She is, I wondered how I would be now if I would have had the voice and the knowledge that she has, that this new generation has to offer. They're the ones that are changing the world.
Yes, and they would be our leaders of tomorrow.
Yes,
What I talk about, our leaders of tomorrow, how as parents, grandparents, the values that we are passing to empower
yes.
them, right? Because they will be our leaders. And if we leave them to deal with the chaos on their own, we are not doing our duty. That's how I
Right.
feel, right? So,
Well, and I think it's been important to, stand in our integrity and speak the truth. You know, I grew up in a childhood where there was a lot of silence and survival. I mean, we've all lived in those stages of our lives.
mhm.
You know, I climbed the corporate ladder. Um, I retired. I had this near death experience. I started writing this book. And then, I realized that this is my legacy to the next generations into the world. And it is for us to really start living our lives, to stop bypassing our lives. And I appreciate people like you, Ritu, who have platforms for podcasts and virtual summits and get people an opportunity to speak, because I think we all have an opportunity to make a difference in this world.
And we all have a story,
Yes.
right? And it resonates with someone, it empowers someone. I have lots of questions, but I want to just talk about a little bit more. If you could share with us environmental planetary stewardship,
Right.
a little bit more on that.
Right. Well, when I started working with ExxonMobil, I had to go back. It was Exxon at that time, and they merged after the Valdez, and compliance and environmental compliance became under the microscope, and so did all the rules and regulations in California. Very constringent now on the environment. So I found myself in a position to be able to like be a training coordinator, but also all the regulatory agencies. I became the liaison between my corporate voice and the vision.
I see.
And in the office, I wore tailored suits. I went in, to courts. But when I went in the field, I had my coveralls, my hard hat on. I rode helicopters. I had to swing ropes out on the boats. I mean, it was a whole different world there. But yeah, there was something about really earning the respect and having to walk the talk and talk the talk. So I was instrumental in, we have 3 platforms in the Santa Barbara Channel that are the state of the art to control, air compliance, the water, the waste, all that stuff is done at a very high level. It's not like fracking and some of the things that the other oil companies do, but it allowed me then all that new technology and how we can help save the earth. I mean, we're all here to save the earth.
Yes, and per se, yes. There are polluters as well. So this is a topic itself, the environmental, the ocean pollution and
Yeah.
whatnot, right? Air pollution, ocean pollution, etc., etc. But I want to move on to the next question.
Okay.
You had participated in that virtual summit, Why Invest in Women? And the goal behind Invest in Women is not just by funding, but also leadership opportunities, collaborations, the board positions, etc. So the Investment in Women Summit, the idea behind it with all the different themes that we bring in, all various expertise of women, different age group of women, different cultural backgrounds of women. Something in common is that women are contributors in today's economy. As I mentioned earlier, almost 50% of the workforce, $30 trillion buying power we have. We're still trying to prove ourselves. So much has changed. Technology has changed. Buying habits have changed. So much has changed. But something about women's role to keep proving ourselves is still difficult for both sides. Women to come out of their generational mindset, and so is for men. I want you to, if you can, add some thoughts, ideas that you felt, either from your personal experiences or being in the summit. How did you see women continue to play the role despite the hardships that they have
Right.
interacting?
Well, right. As a divine feminine in growing up in that and surviving in that work industry, I think my spirituality studies allowed me to move on. Becoming holistic and understanding there's more from allopathic to alternative to the self-healing. So those were all the self-leaderships that I did in becoming an entrepreneur, and then retiring and thinking, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And then I had this unbelievable near-death experience, and I've been doing a lot of podcasts because a lot of people are interested in the communications and how everything was handled during that the experience. But what I've seen is this turnaround in the leadership because the women are rising up. And I think you're right. There has to be a harmonic balance for the transformation that we're all equal. And that's why my signature talk for yours was from one of the boys to all of us, because when I worked in corporate in my leadership role, I had to conform to fit the role of the man.
Yes.
But now the women are reclaiming their own voice, reclaiming their own power. We're juggling our families, our careers, our education. I mean, I think we've come a long way to make a difference in this world.
Yes, we have. And it's very important to acknowledge. And I don't want to say that this is a competition with men.
Right.
I always see that as a woman, as I talk about in my book, we, as the giver of life, give birth to boys and girls. They grow up to be men and women. We're part of the family unit. We're part of the society.
Right.
We're part of that ecosystem. So it's not a competition, it's collaboration. What's wrong is our mindset. We have to, especially in this century, where our roles have drastically changed, right? Financially, women are contributing. I want to say that because in a 50 years ago, in a single income, a family of four could live.
Right.
Not anymore. The cost of living is extraordinary and everyone has to contribute. But if we have adopted those different requirements to fulfill our basic needs, why not acknowledge? And that's where, I mean, we could go back and forth on this topic, but I want to say, get to the next question is that you mentioned that you're a writing book, Stop the Bypass, not, it's sort of a metaphor for you. And this signature talk program, just talk about a little bit more for our audience, the unmasked experience. I want especially tell our younger generation of audience the platform that they are inheriting. There were trailblazers behind that who build the platform so they can stand up and spread their wings and fly. It's really important for all generation of women to hear that. The younger generation, brilliant young women, bring so much to the world and playing double role at home and in a corporate worlds. Tell us about the unmasked experience.
Well, after I had my near-death experience and I started evaluating my life, like I said, all the turning points, I went back to all the my major health issues, and I started doing some really deep inner work. The childhood work, the shadow work. I had always had all those different credentials, but was I really living real? And what I started to do was to take off the masks. And it's been an ongoing process for 4 years. And I call it the unfoldment, the unveiling, taking off the mask. And I use the word unmask. The U is for unveiling. Like, we have all these layers, and our authentic self really lies, underneath. What's our true identity? So in the Unmasked program, the first is unveiling, and then comes the in the word unmask, and I've used the word naked, but it's the exposure to truth.
Yes.
Okay. It's got to be the raw, unfiltered truth about who you are. So I started working on that aspect of the program. And then for the M in the word unmask, it's the masterpiece, to realize, nature, God, everything's the masterpiece, but we're really the masterpiece.
Yes.
And it was to recognize and really celebrate our own unique beauty. So I started doing months of that. Okay. And then the A in the word unmask, I just started seeing the awakening of this greater reality that has always been out here, the profound truths of opening our eyes. And I'd have to say, the soul, our spirit, our soul, whatever you want to call it, is, yeah, meeting that inner you. So that was a great experience for me to connect deeply with my inner uh,
As
essence and my true self. And then knowledge. I had always had all the degrees, but beyond the books is I had a lived experience, and I am sharing the wisdom gained from that unmasked experience, which is the program from Stop the Bypass.
okay, that's out of your book, and that's the program. This is beautiful. The acronym, as you talk about, is the knowledge part of it. I would like to ask you a question on the knowledge part of it. What do you have as a message for the younger generation of men and women, Gen Zers or so? Because there's a less of a gender divide or gender bias. They are very open to collaboration, but they are still mentored by the older generation of men. So there's influence also. What would you like to send a message to that generation?
Well, when I think about that generation, once again, it brings me back to people like my granddaughter, and technology, everything's changed, Ritu.
Yes.
This technology, we have all this knowledge and wisdom from that. But yeah, it's just staying empowered and staying within our values. They get a chance to explore the world differently than we did. I mean, my grandparents came from the Great Depression. My parents came from the silence. We all have these different generations, but
Yeah.
we've given them wings to fly. And
Yes.
I'd like to say it because I have been a leader in my own life, not just in my corporate world, but in having my own business. And I'd like to say is that yeah, every day they get a chance to reset their life, and there's so
And
much out there for everybody.
yes. You mentioned technology, and being in technology side of the word, I want to say these devices in the palms of our hand have
Yeah.
so much power that we can connect across the planet, across the continents within seconds. So people we never knew could speak their languages, or so we call them our friends somewhere
Yep.
on the platforms. Um, this has the both sides of the coin. And on the positive side, we have that cultural exchange. We explore ideas. We get to know each other and our common shared humanity of it. On the negative side of the things, being too much dependent on technology and having friends oceans away and not being able to connect with your own family members. So I kind of, uh, you know, thought, think about it. Um, but it's the reality of our lives right
Yep.
now. However, I want to bring it back, our conversation back to when you talk about the near death experience, which is a lot of people have very rough corporate careers or in their businesses and stuff. Near death experiences are not as common, right? And to live and be a contributor, be a leader, and be a torchbearer to teach others. On the near death experience, talking about that, is there anything that happens to you often that you go back reflecting that changes you even at a greater way?
Well, I'd have to say every single day.
Wow.
Every single day when I wake up, I am grateful to be alive. We in corporate, we just became zombies. We're on autopilot. We're not really living. I spend the first 2 hours in my be still chair, no phones, no computers. And I'm just remembering to breathe. I mean, this breath of life is the consciousness. If people are tired and exhausted, they need to concentrate on breathing. So I'd have to say that yes, it gave me an appreciation for all the experiences and everything else that life has to offer. And I don't have to get caught up in the chaos. I can make a choice to
Mhm.
stay grounded and use my inner knowing. I'd say that would be the message to the children of the leaders is that intuition that we've buried is, let it become the inner compass of our life.
So, the chaos will not go away.
No,
I know that. Everybody knows that. It's not go away. So the lesson is that you need to kind of
stay
pause,
centered, right? Stay heart
center,
centered.
recalibrate,
Mm-hmm.
etc.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the message. So I know which you had in your acronym for unmask, you talked about it.
Right,
Thank
right.
you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. So, also, as we talked earlier, you mentioned that tell me about your role as a multiple role we women would play, and men too. They play too, as a being wife, mother, grandmother, co-worker,
Yeah,
daughter.
right.
So many roles we play. Um, what kind of um, experiences that since your bypass that you would like to tell women of our age, women, younger women, especially the Gen Zers, what's important? Where when we juggle multiple roles, what's important as women?
Um, it is so interesting because we can get so caught up in those roles and the expectations. And I believe from our childhood and our parents, we've been programmed, we've been conditioned.
Mhm.
And for me, it was to get outside the box. We remain in this little comfort zone. Um, so for me is like, there's this whole world out here. And yeah, it's having the courage to live it and trusting. For me, I had to learn to trust life again. I had to learn to trust men again. I had to learn that just because you have an aggressive, domineering voice, you're not an authoritative unless you have your own inner authority. So there was something really big for me. It's like I can reclaim my voice, but I want to feel it, see it, touch it, taste it.
Mhm.
I want to be that authentic me, not the love with conditions. I'm talking about being authentic that might give us the bridge to unconditional love.
Yes.
And that's we've been so judging and blaming and shaming, any and everybody else. But I think collectively, we're part of this bigger family of God, but we have to stand in our own individual empower and, yeah,
Life
find the
throws
real
a
you.
lot. Yes, life throws a lot, and we need to stay centered. And I think women are the center of the family. And it's even more important that it takes toll to be that rock
Right.
and to let everyone else take the strength from you. We need to acknowledge ourselves that where we need strength. Um, I I'm just curious to ask you. Um, I wrote a book on women leadership. And as I mentioned, that it's not about competing and having a title competing with men. It's a collaboration. It's very holistic approach for the 21st century. And I talk about it as the challenge of the past, right?
Hmm.
Even in 20th century, late 20th century, were different. The good old golden rules men set in the business world worked perfectly. In 21st century, in last 25 years, from the Y2K to 25, the rise of the AI, the world has changed at a drastic pace than any 25-year period that we can go back in last 200 years, right? The progress was slow. This was on steroids. how do you see that type of legacy of women coming together, leading the process, bringing men to the table to raise conscious leaders? How does that apply to Legacy Bridge, to your message to the world? How do you see that?
Well, I think we're all bridges. I've always been an overgiver, an overachiever, a perfectionist. That was my thing. I think my new message to people is that for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm really living myself. I'm doing me. I'm self nourishing. I'm self compassion. I'm self trust. So when things are there on the outside, I've learned to bring it on the inside. And all those years, I think I disassociated from my feelings, right? Because I had to be strong, no emotions, big girls don't cry. So it's just connecting again to the sensuality of being alive. That's what I have to say. People have forgotten how to be alive.
How to be human. And
How to,
this message, I want to talk about it a little bit, especially in the Western world. The culturally, men don't cry. Men shouldn't cry, but men are as human as women are.
yeah,
We are creatures of emotion, and when you look at some of the Eastern culture, those kind of ideas are not imposed in men, right? Emotions, the crying is a emotion. You cry not like you're, throwing tantrum, but the express of the emotion when you are hurt and you suppress it, it doesn't help.
yeah,
It doesn't help with growth. So you being as you open the door for connecting with our inner being, that is not limited to women. It's for
right.
men also.
Yeah,
All generation of men. And that's what the message I like to bring, even though I don't write about it in my book. But the idea of it is that we are human,
yeah,
different gender, but we are human, so we need to express that. I appreciate you talking about it, and we are all bridges of sort of, right? So that bridge has to the energy has to flow
yeah.
and has to be released. So I appreciate your work that you're doing, and I wish you a lot of success with your book. This is, Stop the Bypass. It's an amazing. And is there anything else that you would like to talk about, that you have something valuable to share about Stop the Bypass? It's a good metaphor.
It is definitely a great metaphor. And I think a lot of people thought I'd be teaching death and dying, but what I'm teaching people to do is to live again.
Yes.
My next program is Living the Free Way. You know, and yeah, just this whole opportunity for us to unmask and become our authentic self. Um, so
How is the switch right now? Let's call it what it is. The technological switch that's happening at a rapid pace. And many people, naturally, they are scared for their financial security and stuff. What would be a message for them to really seek the soul and talk to themselves?
right, and I think the universe orchestrates all sorts of experiences for us. Every experience is a reward if we want to look at the lesson learned. Otherwise, they continue to repeat. I'd have to say my biggest gift in 2025 was learning abundance, not just financial abundance. You don't have to chase it. I don't have to earn it. But I am open to receiving abundance, abundance of experiences, abundance of relationships, abundance of creativity and writing. If anyone would have told me I'd be writing a book. So I think this whole thing, we used to go with the flow. It's about growing with the flow. And this thing about abundance is for us, yeah, to receive like all the love that we have given. We are
That's
it.
a very important message. We cannot change outside. I like to ask this question because there's a lot of anxiety about AI right now. Um, there has been every 25 years. That's how somehow I think we take a look at the 25, 30-year period and see what was happening at that time.
Yeah.
Right. So there was You Got Mail, AOL came.
Yeah.
So right. So there was we opened the door to technology and we
Yeah.
embraced it.
Yeah.
Right. Amazon was a bookstore and look what it is. It
Yeah.
runs our lives right now. So we opened the door to it.
Right.
And when we open the door, so we have to welcome and kind of learn with it, right? So that's a wonderful conversation. I wish you a lot of success with your book. Is there anything else you would like to share as a parting message with the audience?
Um, yeah, I just, I break out in a meditation or something, but this thing about trusting life again, is something huge, is that we came here to enjoy and explore life.
Mhm.
And somewhere we got so caught up in making a living, we forgot how to live. We forgot to have fun. So I'd have to say that's been my biggest gift in this writing is, yeah, to see the value of everything being sacred, from our food to meeting people like you, to having an opportunity to write and share these voices
Okay.
and messages with the world is, yeah, when you open up your heart, yeah,
I
God works through us. We're just divine instruments.
I know you're working hard on the book. Do you have a time frame in mind when you think it would be published?
It'll definitely be published first quarter.
First quarter.
I had thought maybe on Valentine's Day, because it is such a heart-centered, and I had a
Okay.
great experience on Valentine's Day with the blue morpho butterfly in Costa Rica, part of my story.
Ah,
Um, so, yeah, it's all coming to life. I think
uh-huh.
the book kind of speaks to me
Okay.
because it is the story of my life.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
share the website and the cover, and even if the cover is changed, but
yeah,
the name of the book is there, so people can look out for it. And I do appreciate you sharing. Sometimes these personal stories are not easy,
yeah,
but they are really the stories of strength.
right.
And when it resonates with people out there, that if you are at the edge of that, I want to give up, don't.
Right. And
Yeah,
the power is within.
power
That's
is within.
huge. The resilience, yeah, the blessing of life. So,
Blessings of life. So I say more power to you and continue the good work that you are doing. And I hope that people who are listening out there learn, if they are trying to fit in and not connecting with their self,
yep.
need a moment to yourself, and just the work will always be there. And if you are a contributor, you will still be contributing, but you matter. Sandra, I really appreciate you sharing your story. Thank you so much. For our listeners, this has been a wonderful conversation. And as probably you have heard from other podcasts that you go, there is a story behind the story that takes place. There's more lively conversation happening when the cameras are not recording, etc. So I always appreciate the conversations behind the scenes, that you get to know the true
Mhm.
essence of that person. It had been a pleasure knowing you, Sandra. I wish you a lot of success. And for our audience, please check out. We're sharing the website, and when her book is published, check out, get a copy, and um, and thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, I am host Ritu Chopra. Another episode of Women of Power. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope that information our guest has shared is helpful and you are taking away valuable tips and knowledge. We are committed to supporting women and building cause-driven businesses that create positive impact in their communities. Join us in the movement for change. Take action now and be part of Let's Come Together movement. Together, we can recognize, celebrate, and empower women who are making a difference in today's economy. Connect with passionate and powerful women, collaborate on cause-driven businesses, and build a better future for our communities. Let's advance sustainable goals for the people, planet, and prosperity. Join the Let's Come Together movement, a private community, today and be catalyst for change in creating and raising conscious leaders of tomorrow. Thank you.